Well, a lot of people want to work on their memory, and there are some strategies and things we can use for memory. But more importantly, we work on the processing speed and what we call divided and selective attention.
The things that they do are to try to solve real problems for real people. They're not things that we just make up. They're real problems.
People think of science as maybe an unpleasant experience in school, but science is really a way of understanding and reaching out for new knowledge in the world.
Hello and welcome to University Beat. I'm Denise White. Getting older means making all kinds of adjustments, and for many people, losing the ability to drive is one of the hardest changes we face. Factors like memory and reaction time can determine if a person is still safe behind the wheel. Well, now USF researchers have found a way not only to evaluate the brain's processing speed, but to actually improve it. 73-year-old Michael Liss enjoys Florida living. Retired from Long Island, Liss and his wife take in baseball games and dinners out with friends. But less than a year ago, Liss found out that he is suffering from Parkinson's disease. Soon after, his family and doctor became concerned about his driving. And Liss worried what would happen if he had to hang up his keys.
It would mentally screw me up. Like, you know, when we go out with people for dinner, I can't drive. We have tickets to the Yankee games. I can't drive to that. You know, relatives come around, you need an extra car. So all annoying type things that would, you know, grate on me.
Liss's doctor sent him to USF's Bird Alzheimer's Institute for a driving evaluation. The test showed his driving skills were in decline. But physical therapist Lori Grismore thought Liss could be helped with some cognitive training that might keep him on the road.
Well, a lot of people want to work on their memory, and there are some strategies and things we can use for memory. But more importantly, we work on the processing speed and what we call divided and selective attention. That's your ability to see more than one thing at a time.
Researchers at USF and other universities have completed a study that shows that some adult drivers can improve their mental quickness with targeted training.
Okay, Mike, so in this one, you're going to look at what's in the box. It'll be car or trucks, so just press the car or truck based on what you see. Okay?
The computer training may look like a video game, but it's designed to do much more.
Processing speed training. It's a computerized way to improve how quickly a person can see something and know what it is that they saw. It was developed to specifically look at speed of processing and divided attention, the cognitive skills that are most critical for driving.
They also work on memory and reaction time.
Try to do quick. Imagine you got to stop really fast, okay? Over the brake. Brake. There you go. The main problem that I see here is they might get the beginning stages of dementia, and so it doesn't only just affect our memory, it also affects our ability to think and react quickly and to divide our attention and see multiple things at one time, all of the things that are very critical for driving. Well, let's say you're driving down the road. You don't only have to just pay attention to staying in your lane, but you have to know what are the road signs, what are the other cars doing, when do I need to make my next turn, what is the traffic light, is it red, yellow, green? So you have to pay attention to multiple things at one time.
It usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks to see an improvement from the training, but the positive results can last up to 2 years.
Practice, lots and lots of repetition. Our brain is able to strengthen, like if we were going to strengthen a muscle and do lots of repetitions of exercise, through lots of repetitions of practice, we're able to improve those skills. I've had patients tell me, if I've recommended they retire from driving, I've had patients tell me, well, I'd rather die than give up driving. I don't want to give up my independence. I'm not going to be able to just go to the store whenever I need to. So it's a really big deal for them.
But for the most part, I'm okay with what I have right now. It's that 2-year out, 5-year out that I don't know what's going to happen out there. So have a plan, Mike. You know, where you're going to live, how you're going to live. And so that's my issue on the plate. It's the only problem I have right now. What am I going to do? No one can answer that for me.
think of science and you often think of college. Think of beer and you definitely think of college. But science and beer together, it's called Pint of Science. It brings researchers and the public together in local bars where, over a beer or two, the scientists explain their work in plain English. It's an international project of which USF is part. Mark Schreiner has our story.
For 3 nights every May, neighborhood bars all over the world are invaded by scientific researchers and people interested in their latest discoveries. It's called Pint of Science, and it's about putting scientists in touch with the public in a casual, friendly place.
I think if you had a lecture setting with somebody standing at a podium and an audience of people who weren't familiar with the subject, I think they'd be a lot more daunted if they had to ask questions. Whereas in this situation, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with my friends, except my friend happens to be an amazing scientist doing this very clever research.
The festival was created 4 years ago by a pair of researchers at Imperial College in London, England, and was brought to the U.S. by Bahia a year later. Since then, it's grown by leaps and bounds to events in 13 American cities and over 100 cities in a dozen countries this year.
I think people are more and more interested in science every day. Partially, I think it's part of popular culture now. There's a lot of rock star scientists that are making science cool.
Locally, scientists from a variety of places like USF, University of Tampa, and Moffitt Cancer Center spoke at 6 taverns in Tampa and St. Petersburg. We stopped by Ybor City and the New World Brewery to catch Moffitt mathematical oncologist Sandy Anderson and USF chemistry professor Brian Space speak. Space says he likes to use simple concepts to help audiences understand his research into material and computational science. Basically, how atoms get together to make, well, everything.
For example, I like to play cards. And one of the things I'll start the talk off with is showing how there's 10 to the 58th different ways, one with 58 zeros, different ways to arrange a single deck of cards. These are the playing cards of chemistry. We can combine these different elements to make different compounds.
By putting the talks in a casual setting, the series is more accessible for the science-minded and the rest of us.
Okay, that's what I wanted. I wanted a little debate. Science over here, a little beer over here. I don't know. Bow tie's telling me beer. I thought I would have got science, totally.
There's probably, I would say, maybe half our audience are already in some science-related field. But at the same time, you do have a lot of people who are not related to it in any way.
People like a grandmother who attended one event and approached Bahia afterwards.
She said, you know, I never went to college. I would never have understood this stuff when it was taught to me at school. But as a result of this one particular speaker, I now feel like I could go home to my grandchildren and tell them about immunology. So this was our target audience, and this was who we were really doing it for.
And for both the speakers and the organizers, it's about helping people rediscover that joy of learning.
But we can lose that because people think of science as maybe an unpleasant experience in school or the product of science, which is also called science. But science is really a way of understanding and reaching out for new knowledge in the world. And that process can be fun and joyous.
So you should be aware of what's possible now and what's not possible now. So if someone is selling you magical cures for made-up diseases, science is a good way to help you be discerning about decisions that you make in life, about the food that you're going to eat, about the shows that you're going to watch, about the technology that you're going to buy.
Give scientists a chance and science a chance. We're real people, and we can even be funny sometimes, and it all goes down better with some pizza and beer.
For University Beat, I'm Mark Schreiner.
There's a change coming to USF School of Engineering this fall. Students in Sarasota and Manatee counties won't have to commute to Tampa, at least not for their first 2 years. University Beat's Hetal Gandhi reports.
Take one step into USF's X Lab and you can see why students are excited about the engineering school here on the Tampa campus.
The things that they do are to try to solve real problems for real people. They're not things that we just make up, but they're real problems. And those come from industry, they come from the community. Sometimes the students bring those problems or the faculty bring those problems. I think that's what makes us unique, is that the student is centered.
That focus on students is why USF is launching the Bridge to Engineering program. It allows students at the Sarasota Manatee campus to attend engineering classes at the local campus for their first 2 years.
And there are just times when students want to be engineers, they want to participate in that, but they're just not ready to move to the big campus.
Faculty on both campuses are working together to make sure students receive the same curriculum.
So they're not actually transferring from one school to another. They're at USF. They're in the College of Engineering. This is just a bridge. They're just taking the preparation courses that they would take here, they're just taking them there.
After those first 2 years, those USF Sarasota students will be able to come to the Tampa campus permanently, where they'll have more of a chance to collaborate with other engineering students at labs like this one.
And the hope is for a lot of the local businesses that the students that would start at Sarasota would be from the area, and that they would then want to come back and do internships in the community and come back and work in the community. So they're excited that it's an opportunity to keep some of the students in the area.
Dr. Sandra Stone is the chancellor of the Sarasota Manatee campus. She says her school offers a 13-to-1 student-faculty ratio, which is great for students who might not be ready for the big Tampa campus right out of high school.
It helps them save money, helps them get some extra help. It also just helps them, if that's what they choose to do, it just gives another option for students.
An option that many students are already signing up for this fall. For University Beat, I'm Hedel Gandhi.
USF has a long-term plan to reduce and eventually eliminate greenhouse gas emissions. And toward that goal, the Student Green Energy Fund was created. It's funded by student fees. The electric car charging stations around campus are a part of that plan. The newest charging station is at the Patel College of Global Sustainability. Students, faculty, and staff can submit proposals for Green Energy Fund projects like the car chargers. There are also chargers at the Marshall Center, in the Beard Garage, and on the St. Petersburg campus. There is no fee for using the chargers, but cars must have a valid parking permit. And drivers can only use the space while the car is charging. USF students vote every 3 years on whether to keep paying into that fund.
There are many things that student fees are paid, that student fees pay for, and I think that, if anything, this helps a lot with overall issues like the environment and students being able to charge their cars, so I think that's fine.
It supports, taking care of the environment, and I think as future leaders of the country, it's important. So I think it's fine to take like $6 or $10 or something. So in the big scheme of things, it's not a whole lot of money for a good reason, for a good purpose.
They're not really needed because most students have regular cars. So I think that money can go towards something else.
I think the students want it. We have a good green initiative here at the school. It's why we have the solar panels on the roof of the MSC. We're working on that. So it's definitely a movement that started with the students, and we want to continue that moving forward.
As we just said, one of the car charging stations is at the Patel College for Global Sustainability. We've mentioned that name before, a couple of times in fact. College officials went on a recent trip to Cuba to help the island deal with potential environmental issues caused by increased tourism. The college also helped elementary students plant trees during the recent Arbor Day celebration. Richard Berman is director of the Patel College of Global Sustainability, and he joins us now on University Beat, and welcome.
Well, it's good to be here. Thank you.
You know, College of Global Sustainability, that's a pretty big mouthful. Break it down for me a little bit in terms of your missions and what you're focused on. There are 9 concentrations, I understand.
Correct.
What are they?
Well, it's interesting. Let me just start back. What is global sustainability? And a lot of people think it's all about the environment, protecting the environment, doing what we can about our precious resources that are really Mother Earth gave us, which is water, air, environment, etc. But what we quickly learn about global sustainability are 2 things. The global piece says it's important to understand what's happening around the world affects us today. So if there's a bad plume of air in China today, tomorrow it's our problem. So that it really heightens our awareness that we are part of a bigger world. And the second is sustainability. And we talk often about sustaining the forest, sustaining the water, sustaining the planets. But what we quickly understand is that sustainability talks about sustaining a civil society. Because if you don't think of the impact of man on earth and men to man, women to women, we've lost more of our environment and carbon and all sorts of bad effects due to war, during pestilence, during disease, during other events than we do to a lot of natural occurrences. So the College of Global Sustainability is the place for research, education, and service, bringing the best parts of the university together to attack almost the full range of problems. So when you talk about the 9 concentrations, they're obviously in water, which deals with scarcity of water in some places, catchment of water, processing of water, water availability, what to do with waste and wastewater, and a lot of storm management, going from gray cement to green, which is trees and environmental waste, to solve that problem. The same as we talk about our second sustainability concentration, which is energy. We all know that we have to really begin to think about not only better ways to produce and distribute energy, solar, wind, biofuels, et cetera, but we also need to talk about helping people maintain themselves off the grid. The third area is entrepreneur, to get the brightest and best minds starting to think about how you can create new businesses around making our world a better place for all of us. The fourth is about ecotourism, the impact on tourism. We've taken some of our most precious coral reefs, precious little civil societies, interesting groups of people, groups of plants, et cetera, and in some sense ruined them by tourism. And so now we have to think about preserving it and doing it in a better way.
So this is an academic program. Students come in and they can get a master's under this program.
Right. We recruit students who come in to get a master's degree in global sustainability. It's a Master's of Arts degree. It requires both the coursework and an internship, a real practicum out in the world. And it's exciting because not only are they coming at the master's level from all sorts of backgrounds. They come in from science backgrounds, they come in from the arts, they come in from the humanities. They have a care, they have a passion about the world and making it a better place, as we talked about in terms of sustainability of the planet and sustainability of a civil society. So they come from the widest background, they come through the program, they do something that's real and makes a difference. And we're so fortunate that over 90% of them get jobs both in the public sector and the private sector. You know, businesses are now hiring a lot of people because they're concerned about sustainability. Places like Disney and Coca-Cola have realized that, you know, the precious resources, whether it's water or whether it is food, et cetera, are vital to their business. And if they're concerned and effective in sustainability, they can be more profitable. But I also want to emphasize that we don't try to do it all ourselves at Patel. I have an advisory group of 5 deans, one for marine sciences, the Dean of Marine Sciences, the Dean of Engineering, the Dean of the Business College, the Dean of the School of College of Public Health. And they are our sort of advisors, they're our directors, and the best part of our program is that all of our courses are dependent upon and draw on courses of those schools. All of our research is together, so in some sense, we are the hub, we're the coordinator, we're the facilitator. We're bringing the best of the university to the students to do collective interdisciplinary research and to do service. So our students all have to do an internship, a project, and it can be globally. We have a student currently in Belize, one in Spain, one in Africa, and of course some in the United States as well.
How do you choose what problem or situation to research?
We would gather all the resources that we could think of in the university, which is faculty, sometimes some staff. If you talk about seeds and fields and those sorts of things, you know, we have people on the staff that are very good. And we would be the convener. We would be the host of conferences, we'd be the host of meetings about how we would go about it, who would be the best people to lead it, and then put an initiative together. The nice part is we identify a problem, we are able to bring the best together and be a focus, be a coordinator, be a stimulant for really great things that this university community can and should be doing to its local community as well around the world.
In the last 6 months, you've added 5 new concentrations. What are they?
Well, it's exciting because they're in the tough area of sustainable food and food security. The next one we've added is sustainable transportation. Because when you think about smart cities and sustainable cities, and we know more people are going to the urban areas, the issues of food, transportation, water, and electricity turn out to be important. So we added those 2. Then we added entrepreneur side for individual startups, but we've added the whole concept of large business being more sustainable. Because we know now, watching that they can be more profitable if they're more sustainable. And we've added coastal management and, of course, the impact of climate change. And so they all fit together, as you can begin to tell now, about how you can have more sustainable life, both in the urban area and in the coastal areas.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Berman, for joining us on University Beat.
Thank you.
Think about fire ants for a second. Professor Debbie Castle of the USF St. Petersburg campus thinks about fire ants a lot, it turns out. And she's come up with an interesting conclusion. She thinks they're a lot like us. Dr. Castle explains in her own words.
It wasn't so much that I wanted to study ants as I actually wanted to study humans. Why we cooperate or when we cooperate and when we compete. And I couldn't do the experiments that I knew I needed to do with humans. It's illegal to set humans up in a situation like you survive or you die. So I moved to ants because in many, many respects, they have the same social structure that humans do. One of the things where humans and ants are the most similar is in the social structure, and it's a hierarchy. The queen is certainly the CEO. Every human institution has a leader. It might be temporary, but there's a leader. The queen dictates in a very general way what the goals are, and she does this through chemicals. And the workers, her daughters, their sterile daughters, will come over and lick and groom her, and they get the message from her. And then each individual kind of carries out that task or the job that needs to be done based on who they are, what mood they're in, what needs to be done right in front of them. What the ants do when they're taking care of their young is they wag their abdomen. There's no sound, there's no chemical, the stinger's not out, the venom's not there. It seems to me to be an indicator of pleasure. I'm taking care of my younger sister. The babies are in need, and I feel good about this. And each of us can identify that with that. So we set this experiment up. This is an artificial nest. This is some banana baby food. It's a little sticky. And we crushed up some oak leaves, and here we see an ant that is picking up the leaf and bringing it over to the edge of the food because they don't like to get their feet wet or sticky. So it's a type of tool use. And we're realizing that ants have a small brain, but they're able to do pretty much what we're able to do with our much larger brain, solve a problem. I don't recommend that you do this at home without supervision, but ants under stress, fire ants under stress, have these claws on their feet and they grapple together to the point where I can throw these up and they hold together. And as long as I keep them stressed, they'll do this. But notice, once I quit stressing them, they start leaving the ball and searching for the horrible person who has put them through this torture. So what we do is we melt aluminum at 800 degrees, it becomes fluid, and we pour it down the mound of a fire ant nest, and it flows into all of the chambers. The ants were sacrificed for science. And our big question is, why don't they have one large chamber to house everyone in? Why do they divide their family of 100,000 daughters into these little tiny chambers connected by tunnels and shafts? One of the ideas is if one of the chambers is damaged, it doesn't affect all the other ants living in this very complex home. Any one of them could never work at all, and yet they do. They get up every morning and they work, and there is this biological imperative to go out and do something, and they get rewarded for it in the same way that we're rewarded, with a sense of pleasure and accomplishment.
If there's a story about the University of South Florida you'd like to see us cover, please let us know. Our email is ubeat@wusf.org. Our website is universitybeattv.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can find us by searching University Beat TV. And that's this edition of University Beat. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Denise White.